I'm just, with this trim, it's just literally to cover the grade board and match to the siding. I just think it looks a lot nicer than you bring your dirt up here. You're not seeing the grade board or the Tyvek. So this will, top of this will all be hidden. Good here. Good. All right, guys, if you're gonna run your wainscoting, or for that matter, any of it, so say you're gonna run the whole bottom before the top, you need to make sure when you make cuts, what happens is when you cut that out, and I learned this hard way, is it lets this flex and move. And so we'll go around the window, Jake will go back onto the other side, hold in the center of the rib, and then you can see 6 foot should be the center of this rib. And if you don't correct that, it'll seem like you're doing fine all the way across, but then when you go to put your steel on the top, the ribs won't line up. So what we do is we just cheat that back to where it needs to be and then put a screw in it. Put it on this side because that will let that hold that place. So the way we do our trims, along this brick molding, we'll just run a bead of silicone up through here, set our J trim in it, and then it's going to sit flush with the top. And then once we put our steel up, we'll put our top trim over. That'll extend out a couple inches off each side. Yours up, Jake. You good there? Yep.
The world's changed. When you used to have to leave the house, those can now be done from home, and that includes straighter, whiter teeth.
Here's a couple quick tips when cutting your outside corners. So we're going to set this wainscot trim with the laser, but we're going to cut it so it fits to that window and to this door jamb in one piece. First thing is we're going to mark the edge. The next important thing you need to consider is the depth from the edge here to this back corner. And it's 1 inch in this case. That will determine your 2 marks here. So this is 1 inch, so we're going to go from here 1 inch, and then from there 1 inch. Mark 1 inch and 1 inch. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut down on each of these 3 spots right here. This mark, center mark, is going to be your pivot point. One thing to take into consideration is where are you going to see this corner the most from? And in this situation, it's going to be the porch. So I want my cut to not be visible. We're going to bend these over. Since we're going to be looking at this cut the most from this side, I'm going to use my greens. That way, when I cut, it will be pushing up on this part here, which will help me bend over this. So make it 45 right there. Now you can cut the center out. Now we're just going to make a slight back cut on this other side. This has a 1/2 inch hem on the back, which we have to crease that in order for it to bend the way we want. Take your snips, just lightly squeeze, and then if you watch, since we push this up, when we bend this, it will go over the top and you'll get a nice corner. So now we'll put this in place and mark our other spot over here where it's going to meet up to the door. Alright, so you can see how nice that corner looks. So now you can see that most people are going to be looking at this trim, if they see it at all, from the porch, and your overlap is on this side, which will then, they won't be able to see that at all. Here. Alright, we're putting on our FJ here. And I just thought I'd show you guys how we determine where this goes. If you look at our fascia board, it's a 2x6, so that's 5.5 inches. So all you have to do is put a tape measure up to your plywood, measure down 5.5 inches, and then snap a chalk line. And then that's where the top edge of your FJ channel goes. Now you can see that when we put our soffit on, it's right in line with that J for the soffit. Right there. You want to put a screw just to hold it in place. Perfect. Yeah, you took my screw. There you go. goes more teeth. Alright.
Don't catch that on camera.
How do we look up there, Jake?
We're still under or still good?
Alright.
You could probably left it. No. That sliver.
So you can screw, just leave this one, roll out.
This one?
Yeah. Alright, so we're starting the steel on the side above the wainscoting. And like always, the first piece is most important, so you want to make sure it's perfectly plumb, level, and then the rest should be pretty easy.
Good there?
Yeah, I think so. We're probably gonna have to trim the edges, but that's alright. Above it. Just need to like 6 inches closer. You pretty good on your end?
Yeah.
Alright.
Great.
Is that a great or a great?
Great.
So then this one will come over and cover down to here. So we'll be good there. Key with this is not to put too many. Is that up tight? I think it is. There we go. I'm gonna do one here at the end. Boy, that hurts when you hit your thumb.
Especially when it's cold.
Especially when it's already been hit. Oh. Makes you feel alive, Justin. Makes you feel alive. Yeah, keep your finger on there to protect it. Run it in, then just back it up just a little more. In. No, I mean in. A little more. Right there. I think you're at the thing there.
This report is sponsored by the Coalition for Construction Safety Week. Uncomplicated mortgages? Heck yeah. Get pre-approved for a home loan from Community Choice. Quick closing, step-by-step help, 24/7 access to your loan status. Get started at unbankwithus.com.
Yep.
Click mortgage done. Choice when you love riding a motorcycle, prescription products require online consultation. See website for full details and important safety information. Unavailable for 60 days after purchase. Hey, yeah, did you know there's a generic form of life? Or on a full ride at Joe State for just $5 down. Are you still stuck in correct detention? Don't stop treatment. There's my one and only for the people, in an approved process, fools the bankers and lenders until we get you approved. Even if you're still making payments, even if you've been turned down before. So get up to $5,000 more than your trade's worth for Decor.
Alright guys, we're putting all the outside corner on. And these are tricky. The thing is, you don't want to over tighten your screws on the side because that'll give you more oil canning. So I start with the top. As long as your panels are running nice and straight, you can just use the lines on the panel to make sure you're running straight. If you're off a little, then you're going to have to do it a different way. But you want a 90-degree corner here, so you can push this up and pull it down to make that a nice 90. But like I said, these ones on the side, you want to run them in and then just back them off a little so it's not, when you tighten this down, it'll make these bow, which gives you the oil can. So we got this transition here, so our corner is going to go underneath on the bottom, and then on the top it'll come over the top. This new wainscot trim that I'm using from Delta Metals, no longer use Menards, makes a bigger wainscot. And so these corner trims slide up right underneath them, which is awesome because you don't have to notch this out over these anymore. So then the next one will sit right on top and it looks awesome. Alright, you guys can see there's going to be a sliding door here, but the customer ordered a different one. I just actually got word that it came in. We just put steel up so the spray foamer can go ahead and get all the foam in, then we'll trim this out once the door's in. But the steel is all done. So I can tell you I am pumped up about that. If you can see, the ceilings are still open. There will be steel ceilings. But I will cover that later when we actually do them. Next week, we're going to be framing up the interior, and when we do that, we will frame up these porches. That way, the electrician can come in, run his wire to where he's going to have lights. Then we will put the steel up, and we can cut holes in between the ribs as we do it. It just makes life a little bit easier than if the electrician comes in. He doesn't know where the ribs are going to be, and for him to get his can lights perfect would be next to impossible. I just find it's easier to run the wire, then come in, put the ceiling in, cut some holes for them, and then they can hook their wiring up. So that's what we're going to do. But we'll take a quick look around the house. The outside steel is done, like I said, except for right there where that slider is, which will only take a few minutes to pop that off once we get that door in. So I'm pumped up. Can't wait. I'm excited for this one to get finished, but I'm also excited to get on to the next building, which is going to be a 60 by 80, kind of a house. We're building the shell, and then the customer is going to finish off a portion of it and live in it until they can add on their house to it. So that'll be exciting. Let's take a look at this house from all sides. All of the steel for this building I got from a company called Delta Metals. That's who is supplying me with metal and trims now, and I'm really excited about it. All their trims have 1/2 inch hems, which is awesome. Makes locking stuff together a lot easier than like 1/4 inch. All right, guys, that is going to be a wrap on the outside metal for this outside of the ceiling. So if you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments. On our next build, we'll try to answer those questions, try to show you. I like to see things being done. That helps me learn. So if you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask, and we'll show you on the next build. But guys, we really appreciate you watching. We have lots of these post frame homes, houses, barndominiums, whatever you want to call them, on the schedule. So stay tuned for the next build. Spray foam goes in this one this weekend, and then we'll be doing interior framing, and then all the trades will come in, and we'll get this one wrapped up. But the next one is a 60 by 80. It's going to be a shop, but the customer is going to finish off a space inside to live in while they save up to attach a house to it. So that'll be exciting to see how they do that, because I know a lot of you probably want to do something similar. But as always, we appreciate you watching. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. We also have a Patreon. You guys should check that out. It's a build group. Every month we talk about different build topics. We answer questions. You only have access to it if you're part of the Patreon. Check that out, patreon.com, and we will catch you on the next video.